Is this centered? I served a church once where somebody turned in an anonymous note in the offering plate. Did you know people do that? And they turned it in and said, the pulpit was off-center for the whole service. I don't know, did they expect the custodian to come out and move it in the middle? I really like Psalm 100, and I really like Psalm 100 as it is translated in the Message. That was from the Message, Eugene Peterson's The Message. The language is fresh. It's not really religious. It's not kind of preacher speak, applaud, on your feet, sheer beauty, password. Those are not words we associate with preachers or the Bible. It's just fresh and energetic. I don't know if many people bring a gift of laughter to church. I don't know if people sing themselves into this building on Sunday morning or at any other time. It seems to me almost a psalm that's better suited for a football game or a concert. You know, people do sing themselves into football games. They sing themselves into concert. They'll be humming the tunes of the opera or the band. You know, they'll be singing the Ohio State song. Susan and I went to walk around the game yesterday. We always go walk around the last game because they have pretty good giveaways. And they didn't disappoint us this year. And the food giveaways were unusually good. Hard-boiled eggs from the Ohio Poultry Association, and it was next to roosters. Yeah. Meyer had great tater tots. Cheez-Its. A variety of Cheez-Its and Pringles. It was really neat. And right outside the stadium, we got caught. And we couldn't cross the street. We couldn't cross to the other side of the entry to the stadium because the band was ready to come out. And you know how it is when the band comes out and the drummers beat that cadence. We were with the crowd, and I could feel my chest pounding because of the drummers. And I thought, this is what Psalm 100's like. That's what it's like. We are singing ourselves, playing ourselves into God's presence. I flashed back to the previous Saturday when, I don't know why, I watched the Rutgers game. And I thought about the Rutgers stands that were maybe half full at the beginning of the game, and it just got smaller and smaller. And I thought, it must suck to be a Rutgers fan. I mean, why would you go to the game? Why would you go to the game? You know, I can't imagine a Rutgers fan singing themselves into God's presence and so on. One of my issues with this psalm is it is so upbeat and so positive. I wonder if the psalmist is naive, or are they missing something in life? Are they missing the downside in life? You know, it's hard for me always to get on my feet. It's hard for me to applaud. Because stuff that's going on in the denomination, stuff that's going on in our country weighs me down. It dampens me, it burdens me, and it's hard to get up, and it's hard to feel that enthusiasm and that freshness. Wonder what the secret is for this psalmist. I think it begins with that, I think it's verse 4. Know this, God is God, and God, God. Know this. The Hebrew word here for know is not an intellectual knowing, it's not a book learning knowing, it's an experiential knowing. The person who wrote this psalm has been through hard times, but they know from experience that God is the real thing, God is the real deal. They've tried other solutions. They've tried other gods. They might have tried, politics. They might have tried money. They might have tried career. They might have tried education. They might have tried a lot of things. And they're fine, but not ultimately do they answer all of this person's questions and needs. In Philippians, Paul says, change your worry into prayer and take your worries to God and learn that in the wholeness of God, with God at the center, you can settle down and understand life. With Christ at the core, life comes together. This person who wrote this psalm has been through it and tried other things. But God is the answer and the presence that brings their life together. One of my favorite hymns is hymn 102 that we just sang. Now thank we all our God with hearts and hands and voices, who wondrous things has done, in whom this world rejoices, who from our mother's arms has blessed us on our way with countless gifts of love, and still is ours today. That hymn, the words to that hymn, were written in the 1630s by Martin Rinkert, a Saxon pastor. In the 1630s, Saxony was enduring the 30 Years' War and a terrible plague. In 1636 and 1637, Matthew Rinkert averaged 40 funerals a day. 40 funerals a day. One of the funerals he did in that time was his wife. And he wrote, now thank we all our God, after his wife died, as a table grace for his children. This was a man who was centered, who was grounded, who had God at the core of his life. Why should we have God at the center of our life? Well, the psalmist says three things. For God is sheer beauty. God is sheer beauty. Now, we, I think, might think that beauty is peripheral. It's not essential. It's kind of icing on the cake, but it's not necessary. What's necessary is what is productive and what is efficient. Beauty, however, tells us there is something more in life, that there's something beyond us, that there is value to life. Beauty tells us that the good is possible, that the perfect is possible, that the best is possible. Beauty lifts us up and out of ourselves and beyond ourselves. Most of us are pretty happy that the movie A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood has come out. And most of us want to go see that because we want to experience what beauty looks like in relationships, what beauty looks like in a neighborhood. We want to be lifted up. We want to know that the best and the good are possible. at last Wednesday's Transgender Day of Remembrance. It was a very, very good service. The last speaker, Lena, one of the last things she said was, "This is what transgender people have to offer our society. They offer the beauty of knowing that change is possible, that things can be different." I thought, beauty does that. Beauty tells us that things can be different. Second thing the psalmist says is, God is all generous in love. Not just loving, but generously loving. And not just generously loving, but all generously in love. It's like God is pure love. That's what God is. And I think of the 5 languages of love, and I wish I hadn't said 5 because now I have to remember the 5. The language of love is service, of gifts, of presence, of affirmation, and of touch. Those are the languages of love that the all-generous love God offers. And then loyal, always and ever. Loyal. Doesn't leave us high and dry, doesn't abandon us, hangs in there, sticks with us, doesn't give up. You know, the 23rd Psalm, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." Why? Because thou art with me. God is loyal. Where can I flee from God's presence? If I go up to the highest heaven, God is there. If I go to the depths of the sea, God is there. If I'm in the land of the dead, God is there. God is loyal, always and ever. In life and death and life beyond death, God is with us. We are not alone. How do we appropriate this love and this loyalty and this beauty? Well, the psalmist says, bring a gift of laughter. You know, laughter breaks the hard surface of our lives. It breaks the hardness of our hearts and lets the other person in. Laughter kind of reduces us to our humanity, and laughter says, you too? You too? You have that issue too? You wrestle with that too? Laughter, it makes it possible for God to enter our lives and us to connect with others. Sing yourself into God's presence. I don't know how many of you sang yourself into God's presence this morning as you went from the parking lot to the front door of the church. But there's a difference between singing and talking. I mean, most of us know that the phrase, "Those who sing pray twice." This week I watched a video that was made by the bishop of the Iowa Conference, and she was basically apologizing to a gay minister in her conference for the complaints that had been brought against her, for the hurt that had been done her by the system and by rule keepers of the discipline. And I listened to the speech, and it was good, but it really didn't connect with me. I didn't really get into it. I have to admit, I've kind of built up a yada yada attitude when I hear a bishop talk. And she ended she ended, though, by saying, "Let us pray." And I thought, okay, here we go with a prayer and religious words and so on. And she sang. She sang her prayer. For everyone born, a place at the table. Chris?
For everyone born, a place at the table. For everyone born, clean water and bread.
That's enough. Thank you. And but it made such a difference that she sang us into God's presence. And then the psalmist says, make yourself at home. How often do we feel at home? How often do we feel that we can be who we are, warts and all? How often do we feel that we don't have to pretend, we don't have to carry the burden of authority? How often can we just relax? Make yourself at home. God knows who we are. God knows who we are. There's no sense pretending or fooling God. Be at rest. For you are God's people, God's well-tended sheep. Talking praise. Sometimes it's hard to find things to praise, but it starts with the simple stuff. The moon was beautiful last night, just that little sliver. Whatever is honorable, whatever is commendable, whatever is reputable, whatever is excellent, whatever is worthy of praise. Think on these things. Think on the beautiful, not the ugly. Think on the good, not the bad. Talking praise. Then the psalmist has this great, I love this. Enter with the password, thank you. Enter with the password, thank you. Passwords are the bane of my life. Okay, have any of you ever had trouble with passwords? Yeah, okay. Did I make that a capital A or a lowercase a? Or did I just use the @ sign or an ampersand for that A? What did I do? So frustrated, I tried to get on my Columbia Gas website today, and I didn't know. They changed everything in March, and I had to redo it all. Yeah. I have had trouble with my Apple password. I feel like I have to have my Apple password to get my Apple password. And so I was with our kids last week, and I said, you're smart, you're younger than I am, you know how to do this. How do I get my Apple password? And they said, we have trouble with that too. And they gave me that great wisdom of, well, go to the Apple store. Okay. So I went to the Apple store, and I got it fixed. The sales agent was about 12 years old. And, and the thing I like about going to Apple is they don't laugh in my face. They're helpful, and they treat me with respect. And I left that store just feeling like I owned the world because I had a password. And enter with the password, it's not hard. Enter with the password, thank you. Thank you. Sometimes we come to church and we think we have to have some special password to get in. We have to know some special doctrine and the Bible inside out and all the creeds. And we think that we don't fit. We don't have the password. Enter with the password, thank you. I can remember that. We can do that one. All that it needs to enter the house of God and to enter into God's beauty and all generous love is the password, thank you. Bring a gift of laughter. Enter with singing. Make yourself at home. What the psalmist has described here is the kind of beautiful people we can be. What the psalmist has described here is the kind of people we want other people to be. So, one last time. On your feet now. Applaud God. Bring a gift of laughter. Sing yourself into God's presence. Know this. God is God and God, God. God made us. We didn't make God. We are His people. God's well-tended sheep. Enter with the password. Thank you. Make yourselves at home talking praise. Thank God. Worship God. For God is sheer beauty, all generous in love, loyal, always and ever. Amen.